All right, welcome everybody. Happy to be here on an all heat team Tuesday night. Can you believe we're into end of September? We're almost getting ready to go to Tampa in October. The year is practically over, and by tomorrow it'll be 2025. Isn't that kind of a little bit how it feels, right?
Oh my goodness.
For those of you that don't know me, I'm Nikki Cotton, and Chris and I host this call every Tuesday night for all of our team. And the reason that we do it is we absolutely love sharing the gift that we all have to bring. We have the gift of health to bring to people, and we have the gift of financial security to bring to people. We have the gift of possibility. We have the gift of community. We have the gift of personal growth, the gift of friendship. And as all of you know, that's what we're here to do, is to support one another and learn from one another. And I don't think we have a better person to talk to us about personal growth, the gift of hope, who we are, and especially, you guys, how we've been focusing for the last year on our language, because our word is our world. And so David is going to just treat us with that. Let me tell you a little bit about David. He's been with the Juice Plus company longer than I have, a really long time, since 1988. And he grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. He was born in 1947. He went on to Vanderbilt University in Nashville with a major in history. And he also graduated from the Dallas Theological Seminary, did postgraduate studies at Columbia Theological Seminary. So he's been with the Juice Plus company a long time, and in 2002, he was chosen to be the recipient of the Founders Award, which means that not only did he grow a huge business, not only did he help his own team, but he was very significant and impactful in the entire company. And that's why he was recognized. We often say one team, one mission. And David certainly represents that phrase. He's been married since 1996. They have 6 grown children. And there's a little jealousy here when I say he has 19 grandchildren. We don't have one, David. And he's written a book, and the book is called Letters to Jonathan. And with that, David, rather than taking any more time up, I'm going to just turn this right over to you. I'm going to spotlight you so that you're off of gallery view. And
all right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Nikki. This is a special treat for me to do this with Nikki and Chris. We've been crossing paths and having conversations for more than 2 decades, but we never really have teamed up as much as we are tonight. We've got some funny stories going way, way back in our bone density tests and so forth when Juice Plus first came out, but we won't belabor that. The way you introduced me, and Nikki, it's almost like you gave a synopsis of really what I want to talk about. You're correct in that I love speaking on personal development. The title tonight, Seeds of Hope, comes from a statement that I use over and over when I teach people or when I try to execute myself, the art of conversation. And that's really what I want to talk about. Every time we have a conversation, every time we share our stories, our life stories, and we all have a story. We think mostly about our product story, our health journey, our business story. And I'll get a little bit into my story tonight. I'm actually going to tell almost not much about it. You'll pick up pieces of it. If you don't have this, Nikki, I recently gave a talk at the Pajama Regional, and there's a video. I have a video of that. So to kind of go in depth in my story, if anybody's interested, I will send that to Nikki. Great. And she can pass that on. And you'll hear a few of the things I'm going to share tonight. But I'm going to focus primarily on this thing about conversations. And I want to make this very practical, even though, quite frankly, this is not about technique. This is not about how to make presentations. In fact, I want to make the very clear distinction between a conversation and a presentation. And it's very hard getting started if you're not comfortable in this arena. It's very hard to not get excited about Juice Plus or the business or whatever, and you sort of get in a fire hose mode, and instead of telling the story, you just get into a presentation mode. And so one of the pieces that you have to grasp as you have conversations with people, that you become a world-class listener as well. And I love the fact that you've been talking, I'm not sure exactly what your theme has been, but you talked about language. And you mentioned one of the points I wanted to make tonight, and that is that you almost said the exact quote, and that is that words create worlds. And when we speak with people, even when we talk to ourselves for that matter, and I guess you all know that we do talk to ourselves a lot, and sometimes out loud, and it's a little crazy looking, but we do talk to ourselves, usually non-verbally, but if there's a conversation going on, and one of the things, even the way you speak to yourself is creating a very certain kind of world. And so I'm now older, but it's taken me the last 30 years, and this business has been a great catalyst in that, of how to talk to myself and then how to speak to other people. And that very act of how I craft my words, how I speak to people, it literally creates worlds for them. And here's the quote I'm often say when I'm talking about this thing of conversation, and that is, every time we tell our story, we're planting in someone's heart the seeds of hope. Every time we share in an authentic way what Use Plus means to me, what my journey has been, what I've learned, how this business has impacted my family, my financial future, past. Every time we share that in an authentic way, and I will add some elements to that in a minute, we're sowing the seeds of hope. And we need to sow the seeds generously, and understand, get a love, not so much for harvesting, but for sowing the seeds. We kind of get caught up in harvesting and looking at results all the time. We need to fall in love with the process of just sowing seeds of hope, just sharing our story as often and as authentically as we can. I'm not sure what the quote is, but it's something like this, and Chris will probably get this more, since he has a lot of toys, I think he has, but it says that those who have the most toys win, right? Chris, you got a lot of toys. I've seen you on Facebook. But it's, in our business, the person who has the most conversations wins. I hope you hear that. I have people on my team, and they say, I've got 11 customers. And I say, well, how long have you been in the business? 3 years. I say, well, there seems to be a gap there. There seems to be, congratulations on your 11 customers. And that's terrific. But how many people have you shared your story with in the last month? Well, I can think of 2 right now. Well, there's a clue right there that they're not sowing. They're not sowing generously. Probably one of the reasons they're not sowing is because they're filtering people. We use a term called prejudging, and I don't mean that by being judgmental. We're sort of trying to protect ourselves from being rejected. So we are very selective, and we test the waters a lot before we share our story to make sure that they're going to be positive about us. But if we share authentically from our heart our story and who we are in that story, and we step into that story, we can let go of. We don't have to be conscious of the harvest or the results, and just enjoy the process. I've got some notes in front of me, so if I look down a little bit, I'll come back up and share them with you. I've given you one little phrase that I want you to remember. Every time we share our story, every time we have a conversation, we sow the seeds of hope. Next one is this. And this comes from a person who has mentored me through mostly his books, a little bit in email. He's a little bit older than I am. He's a Franciscan priest. I'm a Presbyterian by background, but some of my favorite people are just come from all sorts of backgrounds and faiths and so forth. And he happens to be Franciscan month. I love Francis. And his quote is this, that just, I want you to think about this. We cannot see something we've never been told to look for. We cannot see something we've never been told to look for. So when we're having conversations with people, don't assume too much. Don't assume anything. And just understand that when you are sharing your story, you're painting a picture. You're doing what Dr. David Katz talks about when he describes Juice Plus. Juice Plus is this phenomenon that helps people get from here to there. In other words, people are not eating enough fruits and vegetables like we should. But Juice Plus creates that bridge that helps us get from here to there. And I use that illustration of his about our product to describe what a story does. A story builds a bridge in a person's mind, and it helps them get from here to there and see how their health story can be reversed. How their health outcomes can become different. How the legacy of disease and cancer and heart disease can be rewritten for them by when we share our stories. They see how to get. When I was first approached by the business by my sister-in-law and nephew Kurt and Jackie Beavers, they imparted to me. They gave a story. They showed how this business as a vehicle could take me from here to there, and here was broke. Here was near bankruptcy. Here was financial brokenness. And they painted a picture and showed me that I could go from here to there. And I wouldn't have known that. I would have just written this off as another one of those crazy multi-level deals that sucks people in and spits them out. And I never would have known that this was unique. This is a unique vehicle that could take me from here to there. And it has. It did. It really did. It did take me from personal and emotional and financial bankruptcy, so to speak, to a place of stability and abundance and 19 grandchildren. So that's what a story does. It helps people see something they would never see, or maybe they misconceive until we come along and say, you know, I used to think this. I used to feel this way about this, and here's what I found. I know how you feel. So a story does that. A story has a bunch of different components, one of which, and let me give you just a few components. One is honesty, obviously. It's very important to be authentic and just speak from your heart. The truth is always so much better than fabrication. Another one might be appropriate sometimes to not be too self-deprecating, but humor is really great. I often tell people about in my product story that when I first heard about Juice Plus, I had no nutritional background. I had no clue. I mean, I grew up in the South, fried chicken, mashed potatoes, apple pie. These were the basic food groups. And I knew that McDonald's, I loved McDonald's at the time because I didn't know anything. I said, I knew McDonald's made me fat, but I didn't know it would kill me. And so those are pieces that I just share, that I don't lean into a story as the expert. I lean into my story as a learner. Here's what I'm learning. Here's what I've learned. Here's what I'm discovering. I've just listened to this amazing doctor on this YouTube, and it just, I never heard this before. I'd never heard of an enzyme before. I mean, what is an enzyme? It sounds deadly, but it sounds like something that will kill you. But when I started hearing these things, it's like, now I've had the privilege for 25 years now of hearing doctors and healthcare professionals and moms overcoming cancer and, chronic fatigue syndrome. And in my own life, I'm I'm 71 years old. When I first started on this journey, I was 30 pounds heavier. I've still got a few pounds to go. I ate Prilosec like it was Tic Tac, and I had just terrible digestion. And now I work out almost every day. I do something good, and I'm not on any medication at all. Now that may change, and I'm not saying that I will never have a debilitating or a life-altering illness, but I'm prepared. I'm in a better place to handle it. If you know, and if you've been around a while, you know what I'm talking about in terms of the impact that Juice Plus has. So those are two big things. When we share our story, we're planting the seeds of hope. And in telling our story, we're saying what Richard Rohr says is that people can't see something until they're told what to look for. And some people might just be looking, for $500 a month, and just hearing that, this is how I got started is powerful. The other last thing that you've already heard, and Nikki even almost quoted it, is that our words do create worlds. And I'm going to give you now, I'm going to give you a story at the very end of this little time together, but I'm going to give you this little piece right here. I've never given it quite like this. I've probably given it in pieces here and there, but the deal about telling your story and planting seeds of hope is that, I'm not sure how to say this, but you've got to prepare yourself for this. You've got to work inside, make this an inside job. And so I'm going to give you some things. You don't have to buy this, you don't have to do this, but I'm going to give you some things that have helped me prepare. For example, when I take very seriously when I'm asked to give a talk. I can't say that I've spent hours and hours on this talk, but I've done hundreds, if not thousands of hours developing concepts that are a part of what I'm sharing tonight. So I put in the time, I study, I read, I listen, and I write. Now, I have written a book, but I'm not a writer. And I would figure that out after I wrote my book. But I'm a speaker. I talk. But writing helps me articulate and craft what I want to say better. So let me give you three things, and maybe four things that will help you become a good storyteller, help you become a good conversationalist, okay? And this is going to be kind of off the wall, so just bear with me. Step one would be this. When you're doing your business, in every aspect of your business, don't start with goals. Start with gratitude. In other words, one of the things I would encourage you to do to become a good storyteller, and it might be that you're telling other people's story, is not just your own, but becoming a person who can speak authentically and not in a robotic presentational mode, a mode that, you fire hose people with your enthusiasm. You don't want to do that. You want to be able to be a person who has a cadence, has a energy, has subtlety, has an economy with words. I mean, you don't have to give the whole story. But here's the first thing you do. You start with gratitude. And here's what I would do to kind of fill the tank. I would take the time to write down at least 30 things that you love and appreciate about Juice Plus, about the people you work with, about the business that's unfolding for you, the company you're involved with. And just do this in an unfiltered, raw way. Just write it down. What I love about this, one of the things I love about this is the discovery of what is called residual income. The fact that today, having worked for 30 years, very hard, I'm paid way more than the time I invest today because I put in the time earlier. I had to learn that. I didn't understand that. I came from a place where I earned money in exchange for the hours. I did a lot of marriage and family counseling. And so, if I didn't counsel, I didn't get any money. Okay. But I can go for days without doing Juice Plus, but I still get paid. And that, it takes a while to get that. That's one of the things I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for the people. Here's a few things. And again, Nikki almost gave these away when I was being introduced. 3 things I think I conceive about the business. One is Juice Plus is a culture of encouragement. Juice Plus is a culture. I love that. And what that means is that falling down and failing, and in our business, having setbacks and significant disappointments, those things do not have the last word. Isn't that neat? That we fail in the typical business, you're toast. But here you get to reach out, and you fail, you fall, you're disappointed, you get black eyes, you get bruises, you get beat up. But those failures and those fallings, often we recognize after a while that those may be the turning points, the pivot points to the next step of fulfillment and success. Okay, culture of encouragement, and we stand with people in that. Okay. Second thing is that we're a community. We're a community of people who get to do what we love. Now that's pretty cool right there. We get to do what we love, and with people we love. That's a whammy. We're a community of people who get to do what we love with people we love, and here's the kid, for the people we love. Okay, how good can that be? Are we a perfect company? Are we a perfect culture? No. We get upset. We have disagreements. All those things. But there's an environment. We call it a culture where we learn to work these things out. Third thing, and again, Nikki alluded to this, is that we're not only a culture of encouragement, a community of people who do what they love, but we're also we're a course in personal development. This may be my most favorite thing about the business. And here's what this means. If you're get good at this, if you get good at telling your story, if you get good at sharing this and building a business and building a team, your check's gonna grow. But here's what the business is. When a person joins your team, they're not only getting an invitation to build a business, they're getting an invitation, I would call it a summons, to own their life, to take responsibility for their life, to finally, I think it happened when I was 48, to finally grow up and embrace who they really are. And that's what happens when you step into your business, step into your story, is that you got to deal with you and you got to grow up. And it's a wonderful and sometimes painful thing, but it happens. It happens when you see people walk across a stage or share their story or reach a pinnacle in their business. You can know for sure that they are different people than when they started. And I mean that different in a very, very healthy, good way. They're different people. Okay, so that's gratitude. The second thing is this. To get good at sharing your story, I would do this. I would take time to get a notebook, and I don't know how often you will do this, but there's something magical about what I'm going to share with you. I want you to write your story out in longhand, at least initially, on 3 pages of notebook paper, just freewheeling, unfettered, unfiltered, raw, writing down with your hand and pen, not on a computer, not on your phone, not texting it, not on Word, writing it out longhand writing your story out on 3 pages nonstop. Just write for 3 pages and just vomit it. Just get it out there, okay? Now you'll go back and you'll write it again. No one looks at this. Nikki's not going to coach you on your grammar, okay? This is not about grammar. This is not even about what you're actually going to say, but you're going to go down on the paper. Instead of thinking up things to say, I want you to go down on the paper and just dump your heart, your feelings, your emotions, your gratitude on paper. Now, I've been doing this for about 20 years in a program called Morning Pages. And it came from a book by a lady named Julia Cameron in her book called The Artist's Way. Now, that's all I'm going to say about that. A lady mentioned it in passing in a meeting I went to 20 years ago, and I heard her mention it. I picked up the book, and it has changed my life. Now, not everybody wants to do this, but I basically pretty faithfully, almost every day for the last 18 years or so, have been going down on the pages and just writing. And no one ever sees this. No one knows where my notebooks or my journals are, but just that act of witnessing my life has changed me, okay? So that's important. And I would start by just writing your story. Okay, third thing is this, and we're right at the end. So I will send Nikki my video of the Pajama Regional, and it's about 40 minutes long. It's a very in-depth story about my story, basically, but how the business unfolded. Third thing is this. I would find a window of time of 90 days. You maybe have been watching and hearing people talk about 90-day game plan. It's just, I believe in 90-day game plans. And I love getting 2 back-to-back, conference to conference. But here's what I would do. This conversation piece, this telling your story piece, this planting the seeds, I would find a way to have 2 conversations a day with 2 new people every day, 5 days a week for 3 months. What's going to happen is that you're going to stumble, you're going to go back and rewrite it, and I'm not even telling you what the components of your story ought to be, but you need to have 2 conversations a day. It will change you. I don't know if you'll get 1 customer or 50 customers. I don't know if you'll get 1 HLP or none, or 2 fast tracks to sales coordinator. I don't know, but I want you to develop the habit of conversations with people, new people, not the same 3 you've been talking to for 6 months, okay? And you know who I'm talking to, okay? Nothing happens in this business, nothing will happen in your life until you talk to people. And here's the promise. If you will tell your story over and over to different people and get good at it, and you tell it, I mean, you maybe have seen Malcolm Gladwell's book, The Outlier. It says it takes 10,000 hours to really get good at something. So I'm guessing you have a few thousand hours to go in telling your story. But if you tell your story authentically 2 times a day for 90 days, eventually you will learn to tell the truth. And you'll get real. You'll get authentic. And guess what? People will get it. And they will be attracted to who you are because of that transparency and your ability to step into the story and become a world-class listener. And when you listen to people's stories, you give them permission to tell their story authentically. Then you really have something going. When they're telling their story and you're sharing your story, then things begin to happen in your business. So with that, I will say thank you, and I hope to meet some of you. Just come up, and I try to walk slowly at conference so I can meet people and see people, but I hope I see a lot of you at Tampa. I know I'll see Chris and Nikki, but it's been a pleasure to be with you tonight, and I hope this has been helpful to you.
Wow, David, I took actually a lot of notes, and I've already put 2 of your quotes on Voxer while you were talking.
Okay.
I absolutely love that quote. We are a community who get to do what we love, with people we love, for people we love. I just think that really describes us so well.
Doesn't it? Oh.
David has such a wealth of information and advice. Does somebody have a question or a comment? It sounds like somebody has the need. I'm going to put this on gallery view. And
Okay.
Anybody need to say something or would like to make a comment?
Good job, David. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Chris.
Chris, what do you have on your head?
The sunlight coming right through here.
It looks like a beanie. Sorry, that was hilarious. So that's part of the humor of telling a story and noticing and listening, right? So again, anybody have something that they would like to ask of David or a comment to make? All right then, David, Heidi.
I just want to say I loved this call. There was one thing that, right in the very, very beginning that you said that really, really spoke to me, and that was, I want to get it right, but when we are having these conversations that we are sowing seeds of hope. That just really, it really touched my heart hearing that. And so every time I talk to someone, I know I'm going to be sowing that seed, almost like the tower garden, right? When we put a little seedling in our tower garden,
Yeah.
and then we see it kind of grow, and we're nurturing that seed. So thank you for that.
Yeah. I wish I'd had more time to develop the whole metaphor of the farm to table. We have our own growers, and these people who grow these smaller farms, they don't get rich, but they know they're feeding us. They know they're making a difference, and they love what they do. And that's how we've got to feel about telling our story. We've got to know that we're making a difference, and if we love what we're doing, then people will listen. Yeah.
And David, one of the things that I love is that your verbiage is poetic. For those of you who don't realize, our quote, this is a business cleverly designed as this is a personal growth course cleverly designed as a business, comes from David speaking. But David, we keep talking in our community about not being attached to the outcome, the journey. And that's exactly what you were saying. Be committed to the sowing of the seeds, not the harvesting.
Right.
It's a poetic way of saying the same thing. I really appreciate that because we've been a long time on that one. So again, would everybody like to, I can actually do this. I want to unmute everybody. And then would all of you just give David a very warm heat.
Thank you.
Thank you, like we know how to do.
Thank you, David.
Thank you very much.
David. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Will this be recorded somewhere? Can I find it somewhere?
Hang on one second. I'm going to stop the recording.